So I want you to think about this. Think about this. Think about this. Think about this. Think about this very deeply. Think about the idea that what if there was universal national service? Would it bring in discipline to citizenship and the question of readiness? Let me begin with a question that most modern societies rarely ask. Just thinking aloud. What does a citizen actually owe their country? As a citizen of your country, what do you owe your country? Just privileges of being a citizen of that country. We talk about rights constantly, freedom of speech, freedom of movement, the right to vote, but obligations are discussed far less. Like, what do you owe your country for being a member of that society? Taxes are one. You pay your taxes, that's fine. Jury duty is in some countries is another. Some countries consider jury duty, but quite a lot is left to guesswork. But there is one idea that used to sit at the heart of citizenship and has quietly faded away in many places. The idea that every citizen should be prepared to defend the society they live in. Think about that. What do you think about this? If you are called up to defend the society that you live in, not just as a professional army, not as a small volunteer force, everyone, men and women alike, everyone has to do some kind of national duty. You don't have to be deployed for service, but take, for example, when need be, just think about what are the advantages, for example, what are the advantages of being asked to train for military purposes. Today, I want to explore a provocative proposal. What if every adult citizen participated in periodic national service or military training of some sort throughout their life, perhaps once every 5 years or so? Not as punishment, not as militarization, but as a shared civic responsibility. And this is where my interest is. But as a shared civic responsibility. Personal reasons, because before we even think about national defense, there is a personal dimension to this idea. Let us talk about it. Military style training does something very specific to the human character, military style. So you go into military training the same way that the military does. Some of the activities, not all of it, since some of it might include like intelligence work, reconnaissance work, not that. That would be left for specialized military personnel. But let's just look at what military style training does to the human character. I think that this will introduce structure, discipline. You wake up early, you move your body, you follow instructions, you work as part of a unit. Many people encounter this kind of discipline only once in their life, if at all. And yet discipline is one of the most transferable human skills. Think about it. Every citizen, after a certain age, the age will be determined by the nation's laws. At a certain age will have to go in for some kind of training every other 5 years. The ability to endure discomfort, the ability to work in coordinated teams, the ability to remain calm under pressure. How useful can this be if you train or when you are trained in this? These are not just military virtues, these are life's virtues. A person who has trained under demanding conditions often carries that experience into other parts of life, into business, into public service, into family responsibility. There is also a psychological benefit that is often overlooked. Shared hardship creates social bonds. When people from different regions, class, backgrounds train together, barriers soften. A national service system can quietly produce something that many societies struggle to maintain today. A sense that citizenship is not only an identity, it is participation. Imagine that Imagine what this might look like across a lifetime. At certain stages, perhaps every 5 years, citizens participate in short periods of structured training, physical conditioning, emergency response training. When disasters happen, for example, and everyone has some form of basic skills, every adult at a disaster site has some kind of basic skills and training to be able to be equipped with this emergency response training, basic defense skills, disaster management. This doesn't this does not necessarily mean permanent military life. Most people would still return to their normal professions, teachers, engineers, writers, doctors, farmers, and whatever professions there is. But every other years, every few years, citizens reconnect with a disciplined national framework. Over time, the benefits accumulate. Individuals become physically stronger, more resilient, more capable in emergency situations. And there is another subtle advantage to this: confidence. A society where most adults' basic survival logistics and crisis management skills becomes a far more capable society. A society where most adults know basic survival, logistics, and crisis management skills becomes a far more capable society. Think about it for a second. Just think about if all members of society, at least all adults after a certain age, have certain basic skills in crisis management as a general need, as a general skill for the entire citizenry, not just in war, but in natural disasters, infrastructural crises, or public emergencies. What would the advantages be? Let's now look at the national dimension. Let's just widen the lens a little bit. The world remains a volatile place. Conflicts emerge unexpectedly. Geopolitical tensions shift quickly. Even countries that consider themselves peaceful are not immune to instability. History has shown repeatedly that security cannot always be outsourced. You can't always think about the other person to care for your personal security. When crises emerge, the resilience of a nation often depends on how prepared its citizens are. Countries with strong traditions of national service often possess something powerful: a population that understands the basic structure of defense, a population that can mobilize if necessary. This does not mean societies becomes aggressive. In many cases, the opposite is true. Prepared societies are often more cautious about war because they understand its realities. But preparedness also changes how nations are perceived. A country where millions of citizens possess basic training sends a clear signal: we value peace, but we are not helpless. There is another interesting question connected to this idea: leadership. In many societies, political leaders make decisions about national defense without ever having participated in it themselves. Imagine a different standard. What if anyone who sought high political office had to demonstrate consistent participation in national service throughout their lives or throughout their adult life? Not as a badge of honor, but as a proof of shared experience. A leader who has trained alongside ordinary citizens understands the physical and emotional weight of decisions related to security. They understand what mobilization means, what sacrifice means. Leadership becomes grounded in lived experience rather than purely abstract authority. Of course, ideas like this raise legitimate concerns. Some people worry about excessive militarization. Others worry about economic disruption or personal freedom. There's also practical questions. How long should service last? How demanding should it be? How can it accommodate people with different abilities? These are serious issues that would require thoughtful design. But national service does not have to resemble the rigid systems of the past. Modern versions can include disaster response training, infrastructural protection, cyber defense awareness, and public service projects. The core principle is participation, not punishment. At the heart of these conversations is not really about military, it's about citizenship. Modern life has made it easy to see societies as something we simply live inside. We work, we pay taxes, we pursue our personal ambitions, but the deeper question remains: what does it mean to belong to a nation? Perhaps citizenship is not only a collection of rights, perhaps it is also a shared readiness. Readiness to contribute, readiness to support one another, and if necessary, readiness to defend the society we all depend on. Universal national service is one way to think about that balance between personal growth and collective responsibility, between discipline and freedom, between individual life we build for ourselves and the larger community that makes that life possible. Let me know what you think. I think that this has various advantages. And of course, there's nothing that does not have any form of duality, advantages and disadvantages. But let me hear from you what you think about this idea. I think that every citizen, everyone, every adult should participate in national service, in a universal national service, so that they can be able to take off the weight from only specific individuals that are able to respond to emergencies when there are emergencies. Emergencies are part of life, and so every citizen, every adult in a society should be equipped, should have some basic knowledge as a service to the country, besides working and paying taxes, as a service to the country, to be able to have some basic skills, so that when need be, if need be, all citizens can be able to account for it. I'm sure that this is not an abstract idea, that some countries practice this, and let me know what you think.